Yo, what's going on, fellas? Six Paths Dunga coming to you all again with yet another reaction video. Before we get started, let me just say the chapter 25 spoiler stream was pretty amazing. I appreciate everyone who came out and supported, everybody who subscribed, everybody who donated, everybody who even left a like. That's all I wanted. That's all I need for real. Everything else is just extra, but of course, I really appreciate every bit of support you guys could offer. I started really making content on this channel in chapter 1, and I really never expected to get shown this much love. So I really gotta thank you guys, for real, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. But as it pertains to this video, let me just say, I seen it on my feed, and I'm always down to talk about the timeline. You know, as everybody knows, the timeline just changed again from chapter 25. I'm gonna talk about the timeline change for that, but at a later time. I kind of want to let chapter 25 official release come out before I really start making theory videos and everything. I'm working on the chapter review, so that probably be out shortly, but I thought I'd just give y'all a little treat while y'all wait for that. So anyway, the spoilers came out pretty early this month. Usually they come out about 2 days before the official release come out, maybe even a day sometimes. But this time they came out 5 whole days before the official release comes out. So it gives me more time to get that review ready for you guys before the official release. But anyway, Ikimoto secretly turned Karma into the 10 Directions Fate Breaker. Now before we hop into it, you guys know why we do this. It's time to show love over here. The love I get here, I gotta give back to the whole community. Because low-key, the Boruto community is the best out of any anime manga community there is. I'm sorry. Sharkname, I'm gonna leave the link to his channel down below in the description, so make sure you guys go check him out. He's a really good content creator, very underrated. You hearing it from me, go check him out. But anyway, yeah, let's get into the video.
Code, Kawaki, and Boruto. They are the true changers or bearers of fate. Yeah, I'm Nim, but please help me push the algorithm by liking this video. Thanks, guys. So yeah, as the title says, each of these entities, especially Kawaki, Code, and Boruto, are fate changers. In other words, the 3 of them will lead us toward entirely different fates. Actually, when it comes to fate and such, Kashin Koji is indeed the guide or ultimate changer of fate, because he is the singularity of fate. But believe it or not, ever since Boruto's fight against Jura in the previous chapter, along with Koji's controversial statement,
I'm already liking the topic of this video. Boruto, Kawaki, and Code always shared like a unique relationship ever since Jigen or Ishiki died, because those 3 are the only 3 on Earth that have a karma seal. So they're already binded together by fate because of that. And so far, the main 2 people that have shown to be able to like shift the timeline in certain directions is Boruto and Kawaki. Now, we haven't seen as much as it pertains to Code. I mean, the story hasn't really focused on him as much since like the earlier parts of Tubular Vortex. But later, since Jura just gave him a revitalized role in the story, of course we're gonna see more about him and what he chooses to do with his power. But so far, I can say it is true that Boruto and Kawaki has played the biggest role in actually changing the future. Of course, Koji will always be the guide in this whole big thing, as well as Ada being the support for his leadership. The people that will actually have to go out and change everything will be Boruto, Kawaki, and I guess Code maybe, I don't know. But not too much for Code right now. I don't know what's going on with him. He's still not good in my book, I don't know. But for sure, I can agree with Boruto and Kawaki.
it was a Shinjutsu that could foretell the future and see some probabilities that would happen in the future. It turns out that there is another concept that comes from God himself that indirectly becomes the natural distractor of a jutsu called 10 Direction, and that is karma. Even though Code has a different type of karma compared to the one Kawaki and Boruto have, let's start all of this from Boruto himself. The fate of Boruto, Uzumaki, and Kawaki. So if you flash back to chapter 13, where at that time Koji explained an incident between Boruto and Kawaki in chapter 78 of Boruto Next Generation, there was a moment where Kawaki wanted to kill Boruto. The presence of Momoshiki, who kept appearing in front of him, made Kawaki's desire to kill Boruto even stronger. But until at one point when Kawaki and Boruto fought, Boruto's eyes at that time suffered a severe injury. Until now, Boruto's eyes have not recovered, right? Well, at that moment too, Sarada certainly did not just see Kawaki intending to kill Boruto, but this was the very starting point of why Boruto became a changer of fate for the first time. We know in that era, Kashin Koji was not yet Boruto's partner, and of course, there was no concept where the future could be predicted, right? But in chapter 13 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Koji mentioned that when Sarada tried to protect Boruto, In the end, Sarada and Boruto died at the hands of Kawaki.
One of the biggest mysteries in the manga at this point, even going all the way through the Super Vortex, actually at this point, I don't know if they're ever going to come back and state what changed the timeline here. Like, why is Boruto and Sarada still alive? If there was a timeline where they both died, and we could see it from one of the panels where Kawaki was like in his V2 state, looking over Boruto's dead body or something, or he might have been the last thing that Boruto ever seen before he died, but that just never happened. And we seen that vision, what was it, in chapter 75 or 76, I'm pretty sure it was 75. But then 3 chapters later, the timeline changed. Was the timeline already changed by the time he had that vision? Or was it something in between those chapters, those very 3 chapters, that changed the timeline? And look, the whole thing is, right, if it was in between those 3 chapters, then that's a very slim window for something to happen that could change that whole outcome. So what was it? And of course I have videos going over that whole topic. I just don't remember what it was. I have a lot of videos, but what I can say is it probably had nothing to do with something that Boruto or Kawaki did. Even Sarada, who came in to like intervene in that fight, in both of the timelines she did it, but in one timeline she died, in another timeline she lived. And when we're talking about timelines, right, they're so fragile, extremely fragile. So a very minute change can result in the whole event changing. That's how fragile timelines are. So let's say for this instance, right, if Sarada was a little bit late in saving Boruto from Kawaki, Kawaki could have killed Boruto in that fight because Sarada was late. Let's say she was maybe 5 minutes late. They could have gave Kawaki enough time to kill Boruto. Sarada comes, sees that Boruto is unconscious or dead, attacks Kawaki, boom. Kawaki kills Sarada as well. So it's probably not something that built up over time. It's probably a change that occurred just before or while this fight was happening. But hopefully the story goes over that, because that's one of the biggest mysteries that I'm interested in as a content creator. Like, we need to know these things. And once it does get revealed, I'm gonna make a video on it. I'm gonna make a video on it and start putting things together. That's just how I am.
But what exactly was the trigger, the diss track or something like that, that made it not happen, as Koji said in chapter 13?
Don't know.
Saying that at the time, Kawaki tried to kill Boruto and Koji through a toad intervened in Boruto's intention to fight. Of course, that is something that does not make sense, right? Because again, it was an era where Boruto and Koji had not been partners like now. Well, the real point is, what makes it not happen? Regardless that this is the author's wish, there is an answer that makes sense. And again, it is karma. For some reason, 10-direction Shinjutsu, or can be referred to as Jippo, has a loophole where the existence of users who are activating karma becomes a natural distract. Because believe it or not, in this scene, if Boruto just stays still and doesn't sacrifice himself and ends up losing his eye, then it will make Sarada die at the hands of Kawaki along with Boruto himself. And of course, this is based on what Koji said in chapter 13. As a result, you being killed by Kawaki along with Sarada Uchiha, who tried to stop him. I know this might be just a minor or just a guess, but if you look at this in detail, especially how Boruto was lying down when Koji declared him dead, is it really the case that if the position of Boruto's body behind the one that was dead at that time did not get a wound in his eye? Yeah, I know this is minor and kind of silly, but who knows, right? In other words, by sacrificing himself, especially his eye, Boruto also changed the fate of his own death. That means Boruto is someone who has interfered with the course of fate. And of course, as a karma user, he has changed the fate of planet Earth. And also Kawaki, who possesses karma. According to the prophecy or future timeline that Koji saw, during the battle between Naruto in his final mode and Ishiki, Naruto was supposed to die.
He was.
In the end, Ishiki was meant to be reborn into Kawaki's body. But as someone who possesses karma, Kawaki changed the fate and prophecy that Koji described by deceiving Ishiki. He used a clone as a fake vessel.
And let's not get it twisted though. If Naruto didn't teach Kawaki the shadow clone jutsu, either two things would have happened. Ishiki would have just killed Naruto, or Ishiki would have implanted another karma into Kawaki. Now, just because they're karma users and they happen to be the ones that are causing the timeline change, that's different from it actually being the karma that's doing it. And that's how I see it in comparison to like what he's saying. I don't really think it's the karma breaking fate itself. It's the user, whether they're using the karma or not, that's breaking the fate. Like all three of them, Boruto, Kawaki, and Code, did something to change the timeline. So it's like all three of them, right? And they're basically in control of how the future plays out, because so far they have made the most significant changes to said timeline. We literally seen what changes Boruto made to the timeline. Boom, one, just telling Kawaki about his limiters, and that saved him from dying against Jiraiya, right? And boom, what he did in chapter 25. Of course, I'm not gonna say any real spoilers in this video because I have people that watch me that don't care for spoilers, so obviously I'm not gonna say anything about the chapter until the official release comes out. But something that Boruto does can possibly change the timeline or even save the planet if it goes well. And we see from Kawaki's point of view, him actually coming to save Boruto, that changes the future. I mean, both go hand in hand, but they both played a big part in making that happen. And a change doesn't necessarily have to be positive, it can be negative too, like in Code's case, where he created the claw grinds, and eventually those events led up to the birth of the Shinju. It's not a positive change or a positive shift he's going with the timeline, but at the end of the day, it is still a change, even if it's negative. And not too long ago, we got a tease of how he can possibly change the timeline again, but maybe later on in the story too. Because him searching for ways to kill Boruto and Koji, possibly getting stronger, sabotaging certain things, just working in the shadows, him trying to get the chakra fruit can lead up to certain changes. So it is the karma users that's making the most changes in the story, in the timeline, whatever. But I don't want to say it's the karma itself, because that would kind of be disingenuous to the changes they made to the timeline that had absolutely nothing to do with them having the karma or being in OTSUTSUKI, anything like that.
It didn't work as intended because the body he transferred it into was just a clone. In other words, the prophecy or future timeline that was supposed to happen, according to Koji's words, was unintentionally altered by Kawaki himself. And once again, if Kawaki hadn't changed that future timeline, this planet would have been destroyed by the Divine Tree.
Like I said, of course, we don't want to be disingenuous because obviously it was Naruto teaching him the Shadow Clone Jutsu that actually like manifested that change. So you guys can see how it would kind of be unfair to just say, oh, it was just because of the karma.
We know Boruto failed to prevent the birth of the Divine Tree human. Eventually, that threat continued until the most crucial moment, Jura, as the Divine Tree human almost killed Boruto. But before that, to overcome this problem, Boruto chose a path that Kashin Koji did not recommend. He told Kawaki, as Ishiki's vessel of karma, about the fate related to the limiting power within his body. As a result, Kawaki managed to change Boruto's fate from dying at Jura's hands to surviving. But Boruto's fate kept moving forward. As long as Jura remained undefeated, Boruto still had a high chance of dying. Because of course, Kashin Koji, who had already concluded Boruto was done for, with no doubt, was unexpectedly proven wrong.
And that's another thing about fate, right? We was wondering all that time when Boruto was supposed to die by Jura, stated by Koji, and there's actually been a couple times he could have died, but really, Koji never specified when Boruto was going to die. Of course, there was that time where he could have died because Jura sniped him, whatever. He didn't die, but just the fact that Jura lived, the percentage of Boruto dying by Jura didn't really go down at all. It just delayed it until a later time. You see, time is undefeated. If it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Whether it be today, tomorrow, or whatever, time will always catch up to you. Unless you have a Shinjutsu like 10 directions, you can kind of cheat time or whatever, you know, manipulate it in your favor. You know what I'm saying. But there was no specified time that Boruto was supposed to die by Jura because there really wasn't. You see, if there was a time where Boruto was going to die by Jura and he happened to live, then the next time he could possibly die. That's why Koji was telling Boruto, if you confront Jura now, you will die this time. Implying last time could have been an anomaly or something, but this time you're sure to die. Just kind of trying to demotivate him because he knows it's not the smartest choice in the world. But of course, Boruto still went. And yet again, Boruto has survived. But just because he survived this time does not mean he's not going to die by Jura. It's just going to be delayed until a later time. So there's going to be another instance where he's at death's door against him. And if he doesn't do anything to change that outcome, like get stronger or whatever, then the inevitable is going to happen. That's why right now in the story, Boruto is acting on that premonition. Because he knows there's gonna come a day where he has to fight Jura, and it's gonna be very soon. So if he's not ready this time, the same outcome is gonna occur. And this time, he might not get lucky. Somebody might not save him. Kawaki might not be there or whatever. So, hey, only time can tell. And unfortunately, time rules all. Time is absolute.
After seeing that Boruto and Kawaki as karma users have had, changed, and created their own fates, indirectly disrupting the fate seen in Koji's prophecy, naturally, Code is in a similar position to Kawaki and Boruto. But in reality, Code's case can't yet be categorized as a true fate changer or someone who can alter the future path Koji saw. Besides the fact that Code's scenes aren't as numerous as Kawaki's and Boruto's, Code hasn't shown much that disrupts Koji's foresight. But does that mean there's a chance for Code to become a singularity of fate like Boruto and Kawaki? Actually, yes. And only a meeting with Kashin Koji could give Code that chance. In other words, that's what will determine whether Code, as the wielder of the white karma, could trigger a branching of the future timeline. In short, the meeting between Code and Koji will be the real answer. Because we know Code is currently targeting Boruto's partner, right? So if Code meets Koji, will Koji reveal what the future truly holds for him? Or will he tell an entirely opposite future instead? But most likely, Code's role will be crucial in creating a better fate in the future. Or in the worst case, the opposite.
Yeah, y'all make fun of Code, but watch. He's gonna have the most crucial role in the timeline outcome. He's going to be the catalyst, the deciding factor, or whatever you want to call it. Just off the fact that Koji confirmed that there were possible futures where the Shinju weren't born, means that Code will play or have played a big factor in the future. Already. So yeah, I could say that he didn't really mean the karma is making the change to the timeline. It's the karma user specifically. The title of the video is just made to make you guys believe that karma is actually doing it, but it's just keywords and everything. Don't take the title too seriously, you know. But I do see what he means.
Code's fate is actually determined by Jura, whether or not he consumes the chakra fruit. And that's the trigger. If he gets the chakra fruit, he'll evolve into a new Otsutsuki.
Oh yeah.
Final conclusion. Even
That's
though
too.
we all know Boruto's fate was stated by Toneri, that Boruto's eye is the star of hope for the world from Earth's destruction, at the very least, Boruto's karma has also been a trigger for the branching of the future. And not just Boruto, Kawaki and Code both have an important role and point as to why the future is becoming harder to predict and harder to guess. Because each of them has a future path that will most likely distract from the future course Koji has foreseen.
Yeah.
But from all the analysis and things I've explained, do you agree, or do you have your own perspective? The main point is, Boruto must face two other fates carried by other karma wielders. But in the end, the Jogan will be the true answer.
Okay, hey, definitely. That was a dope video. The Jogan will be the true answer. Couldn't have said it any better myself. The Jogan, the pure eye, that will give Boruto the power to just manipulate all fates. He will be the god of time or something crazy like that. I'm only half serious. But anyway, I really enjoyed that video by Sharkname. Shout out to him. Great video. Like I said, the link to his channel will be down below in the description. So make sure you guys go check him out, show him some love and everything. Let me know what you guys think about those three characters, Boruto, Code, and Kawaki. Will they be the key for the Earth's survival or destruction? Let me know in the comment section. Also, let me know what potential ways you think Code can integrate himself into the story. As it pertains to this video, what big thing do you think he's gonna do to change the timeline or even manipulate the timeline? But anyway, I think this is where we're gonna end the video. So yeah, before I end it, remember, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more like this in the near future, go ahead and drop that like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications so you know whenever I upload or go live for chapter spoilers. And until my next one, I'ma see you boys and girls later, and I'm out. Peace.